Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into the video here. Now at the end, I'm going to tell you how you can save a couple of bucks. Now I don't know if you guys like to compete. Tommy Gunnz is a competitor. And you know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But with a devastating loss like this, he's just trying to find some rhyme and reason to it. And a lot of people see why he feels this way. You know, the people around him, a lot of people in the organization. So he and I got together for this little breakdown, and I'll tell you more about that later. And at the end of this video, I'm going to offer out a coupon code for my beach wrestling tournament that happens on July 30th in Plattsburgh, New York. Okay, that's roughly an hour south of Montreal. On to the fight. This is a very entertaining fight. So if you haven't seen it before or you don't even know who Tommy Gunnz is, get comfortable because this is a really good fight. You're going to enjoy it. All right, so sit tight.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here is his opponent. Please welcome Tommy Marcellino.
All right, so I'm here with Tom Marcellino. We're sitting down watching the fight. Hey, Tom, say hi.
Hey, how you doing? Good-looking guy walking out to the cage.
Yeah, we got World Series of Fighting 31, Marcellino versus Powell. We're just gonna do a little breakdown here, and just because most people are really not happy with this decision, and you know, we just kind of wanted to not really say something about the issue and then drop it. We just kind of wanted to do like a well thought out breakdown of the fight, and you know, just so it doesn't go away, because you know, things like this, you can't drop it. You gotta stay on it. So we got both fighters coming into the cage, and they're just about to do the introductions. So. Can you see it good?
Yeah.
A little bit. So listen, if we need to pause it or something, it's still going to record, so we can just kind of go, you know, we can rewind and everything else.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome and thank the best fight fans in the world.
I gained a few pounds since then.
Yeah? What you walk around weight?
About 75.
Yeah?
Seven,
Not bad.
I like being about 73.
Yeah, you know, for anyone that hasn't listened to when I had Tom on the podcast about 2 weeks ago, I got a hold of him, and he called me just a couple hours before weigh-ins. So I was kind of surprised you'd take the time to do it, because if I was in your situation, I don't know that I would have.
That's no fun making weight, but I was really close. I got close ahead of time, which makes it easier. I get up to about 180 sometimes, but I'm happy at 73, 75.
And now his opponent, on my left, fighting out of the red corner. His record: 7 victories versus 4 defeats. Standing 5'9" inches tall, weighing 155 pounds. Fighting out of Amsterdam, New York. Presenting Tommy Gunnz Marcellino.
Okay, so for anyone who's seen this, you know, there's a couple of people were slipping, a couple of fighters were slipping in the cage, and actually this fight starts right off with a slip.
This was the first fight I've had. I usually, the day before, go in the cage and check it out and check where the writing is. All the writing on the cage gets slippery, and when it gets wet, I didn't do it this fight. I didn't get a chance to go in the cage before the fight.
So it's one caught kick.
He didn't actually connect many strikes standing.
Yeah, and even the way you're catching the kicks, you're moving away and catching them. It's not like the argument when Frankie Edgar was catching Ben Henderson's kicks. They're like, well, you know, they were landing and they were caught. Good combination, mixing up targets.
This is a very hard round, in my opinion. Maybe the hardest round to give him, because he didn't really land anything. He was taken down, I think, 3 times in the first round.
landed. Right hand. Moved away. Catches another kick. Good combination.
That was the first takedown of round 1.
A good strike. I mean, that was a 2-for-1. You know, he
Yeah.
hit his head, then his head hit the canvas.
The more I watch it, the harder it is. I like giving him the benefit of the doubt, but it gets harder and harder to score for him because he didn't do much offensively. These are positions we're in all the time in training. I've been a brown belt in jiu-jitsu for 3 years, I believe.
Okay, so right now he's kind of hanging on a Kimura, and he lets it go.
He did a very good job of defending the strikes on the ground. He was long and
Yeah, he's
tough.
got the shin in the belly there. You know, he's creating space, and we're back to guard now.
there, in the same sense, so there was never any threat of him standing up. I never felt like he wanted to get up or do anything but go for submission, so I didn't worry about sweeps too much early in the fight. Later in the fight, he went for some sweeps. I was watching for the up kick. It's a dangerous strike from that position.
Good
Good
right
strike.
hand.
Up to this point of the round, in my opinion, there was nothing he did to score in any way, really.
Yeah, there really hasn't been very many significant strikes by him. I mean, there was an up kick, but, you know, I mean, no reaction by you. Okay. So we're back up, 1 minute, 10 seconds left.
Up to this point, I don't think many strikes were landed by him on the feet, if any. That's takedown number 2. He wasn't really trying to stand back up. I was kind of confused by what he was doing. He seemed to want to be in that position, although he wasn't too successful in that position.
Oh, good right hand.
None of those strikes were landing on his part. There's one more. I catch a kick, I think, at the end of the round. Put him down one more time. Right here. That was the third takedown of the round.
Yeah, and even when he gets close and, you know, he's trying to win the round there, you know, you're throwing and you back them off.
I don't think he might have landed one punch at the end of the round, but nothing significant. For such a tall guy, I was having a lot of success getting in and landing. My coaches did a good job of making me prepare for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're obviously well prepared.
I knew from some of his fight videos, some of the things he did well.
So what did they tell you between rounds?
They wanted me to foul to the followed the hook, I believe. I don't know if it was that round but they told me that I won the round and keep doing exactly what I'm doing.
Inside leg kick. Quarter kick. And right to a left hand. Oh, good jab.
I was feeling very confident in this fight. He was having a hard time actually landing strikes, I felt like. Okay, let's take down.
Easy. Nice takedown with a trip.
We got to take down one of the rounds. He went for a submission guillotine.
Yeah. Roll out.
He had dominant position first time in the fight. It's for...
Yeah, I'm just going to pause it right here just because I don't want the action to continue. You know, I was sitting in my seat and I'm like, oh man, you know, like once I see like he's starting to cinch that guillotine and his elbow comes up. But, you know, now that I see it here, like, you know, you rolled the right way, your eyes are open. I mean, that's what the refs are looking for.
I'm lucky. I train with such high-level jiu-jitsu guys that, and I have a weird neck. They don't really. I'm going out first of all in a fight. If I get put in a choke, I'm going out. But I'm so comfortable in those positions that him having that choke, it's something I deal with so often in training. And
so how close was he to cinching that and getting you in trouble?
Not even close.
Okay.
If you watch a lot of my fights, I'm putting chokes. I have a weird neck. It's very hard to choke. You could talk to some of the guys I've trained with, and it wasn't even close.
Just find a way to.
At 2 points in the fight, he went for submissions. But the thing is, that position, he had dominant position for about 5 seconds in the round. So
yeah, I mean, let's
go
back. We'll go back
yeah.
about. We'll go back to 12:25 on this video, and this is before the takedown. So.
Powell should dominate that position, guys. He just take one step back. He can still land. Marcellino can't. Powell is not doing a terrific job of controlling his range.
Nice takedown. 101, 102, 103, 104. Roll out. 105, 106, 107, 108, 109. And so about 9 seconds, and now you're in a scramble where you got his leg, and you're working like for a takedown finish.
So being generous, we'll give him 10 seconds, 6 minutes into the fight of dominant position. I look at, I was saying it the other day, as a failed submission attempt, similar to a failed takedown, or they don't score them as very much because failed is the first word in the sentence. It's like a failed punching someone. You failed at what you're trying to do. Those are good strikes he was landing.
Yeah, good elbow on top. He was trying to box the ears.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff he was doing, he was very long, but it was more a pitter patter. The elbows were more than they were harder strikes. Right there. Most of the stuff he did on bottom was annoying more than anything.
Good shot.
Both guys are working, but given a position you're losing on the judges, I'm not sure why Powell is stand up. There would be another opportunity. Yeah, Powell's Tommy Gunnz could come out. Gunnz inside control. He has to keep that position. Jumps back
He does a good job, keeping you in the guard.
Yeah, the one thing I should have game planned different. I planned on staying in this guard and ground and pounding, and I should have worked more on passing in this fight. I'm looking for submission and dominant positions, and maybe not putting it in the judge's hands. That's, looking at it now, one thing I could have done better. But I don't know how. I don't see how this round could be given to him. I took him down, I think, twice in this round. And I spent the whole round on top, except 10 seconds. 9 seconds. So two judges gave him 2 rounds. The third judge gave me all 3 rounds. Mm-hmm. The first round, I can't see an argument that either judge could give him, just because he wasn't in dominant position. I got 3 takedowns, and he didn't really land anything.
Now, have you seen the scorecards? Like, do we know exactly which rounds were given?
I think we know what judge gave it to me, but we don't know.
So, I mean, we could speculate and say, probably more than likely, all 3 judges gave you the first round.
They had to have. I don't know what judge in their right mind could give him this round, because I think it was as dominant as a round could be, besides 9 seconds.
Did you get an eye poke?
I don't think so. I think it's got sweat in there. So, up to this point in the fight, it's hard to make an argument, in my opinion, what was given to him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is where they're telling you to throw the hook?
Yeah. They told me at some point that I won the first 2 rounds. Don't make a mistake. Don't get submitted. Don't get knocked out, basically. So that's what I felt going into this round. Slipped again on the fit. The cage was really wet. There was guys slipping earlier in the night, I was told.
Yeah, and even there, he's able to get mount, and let's rewind that again, because I really want to analyze, any reasons on why he would have won the round. Fast forward a little bit here. So at 4:35, there's a slip.
Devin Powell making his World Series of Fighting debut, and guys, Powell maybe doing some things a little unorthodox, but I'll tell you, this guy is a scrappy fighter. Oh yeah, he is. He needs to start disguising that left hand with that left hook with the jab a little bit, and start mixing it with the rear hand, just like he did
Right here.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right where your corner was.
Well, how many seconds would you give that? 3?
Yeah, roughly. We'll round up to 5. Let's rewind it one more time here. Okay, so 2 missed punches. There's a kick. Slip. 101, 102, 103, 104. So about 4 seconds.
4 seconds, okay.
And you get a feel, if you're you know, if there's a question mark that you've lost the first 2 rounds and you're given a mount, you got to fight to keep that goddamn position. He really didn't fight to keep that position.
He was more of a back kind of guy. He didn't have much wrestling at all. His jiu-jitsu was jiu-jitsu. It wasn't a hybrid. Most of the guys in New York, New Jersey, guys are pretty hybrid between wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all sorts of grappling.
Yeah, and you know his guards open here. He's hooking
These
your
positions,
ankle.
they're not good. That's not a real submission that he was even going for. I was not threatened by it. So up to this point, in my opinion, we'll give him 13, 14 seconds. 13 seconds of the fight. About 15 minutes in. All these positions, I'm winning on any judge I ever talked to the scorecard. We're taught that those are dominant positions.
Yeah, that was an easy takedown.
Here we go. 1002, 1003.
From that 250 left in the round, he's able to sweep, and he's got your back.
Right here, he had good position, but the choke was never in. My chin was in. I'm giving a thumbs up to the judge. You can see in a second, and my chin's in. My chin's completely in. So, how long was that?
It was about 40 seconds. And you know, even with that rear naked choke, you know, he wasn't very close to finishing it. You know, from where I was sitting with the guillotine in the, what was it, the second round?
Yeah.
I was like, oh man. But like this one,
My chin was completely in.
yeah, a little different reaction. You know, yeah, submission attempt, but even from where I was sitting, I didn't think he was close to finishing that. I was really worried about him just hanging on for the, just hanging onto your back for the rest of the round.
Stay on the round.
And he actually seemed like he kind of gave it up, was looking for a triangle off the transition.
So, a little less in a 15-minute fight. He was in dominant position. About 50 seconds.
Yeah, good right hand. See, and even with a minute left, there's a minute and 10 seconds left, and I think this is where you land probably the most significant strikes in the least amount of time. You know? Yeah.
Right here, 2 overhands I land. I feel like if I was a little bit earlier in the fight, I could have maybe finished. I mean, another takedown.
Another takedown.
I believe the fight was finished here.
Okay, I think 45 seconds. This is, I think, where the video starts going. So I'll just turn up the audio on commentary.
I believe I maintained that position at that point in the fight.
Slip knockdowns, come on.
The commentators, not that they're the judges, but they felt that I had an answer for everything he threw at me, which I had to agree. Powell was a very tough guy.
Yeah, I mean, I said on my last episode, I'm like, you know, he's got to be thinking he's losing the fight. So a guy who's losing the fight in the third round, you got to try and finish it to win. And if you don't, then you're kind of back to losing.
I kind of think, knowledge-wise, I don't think he had the tools to really. I don't think he had the tools to take me down. I don't think he was physically strong enough to be on top, and he was failing. His strong position was his guard, but I don't think he was failing, so I don't think there was much he could do, really. At this point in the fight, he thought he lost. I thought I won. I guess we were both wrong.
Yeah, I mean the groundwork was good. You know, both of you guys were both busy on bottom, on the ground.
Will it be Devin Powell or Tom Marcellino as we take a look at the highlights of this fight? And there were plenty to choose from.
Combination in the first round.
Marcellino wants those hands
Takedown, first round.
activity, strikes into takedowns, takedowns into strikes, keeps his opponent guessing, and then keeps himself out of trouble once he hits the mat. He was caught in this guillotine, good position there, but Marcellino didn't think so. He didn't get too excited about it, worked his way through it. Now I'll point this out, gentlemen, that's a slip, and we've seen a few guys slipping in the decagon tonight. If you're a fighter in the back, you're definitely watching that.
The ground was very, very slippery. The lettering was like fighting on ice.
That's just the canvas. You got to deal with it. Both fighters on
That's something I should have checked out before the fight. That was my fault.
the judges getting their notes together, and we are set to go. So with that, we'll set it inside the
Tell you, I've seen that in the UFC where it's obviously slippery, and you know that doesn't happen the very next time around.
Yeah.
They correct it.
professional fight. We go to the judges' scorecards, and we have a split decision.
I knew then.
Eric Cologne scores at 29-28 for Powell. Judge Dave Peabody scores at 30-27 for Marcellino.
That's odd too.
Judge Dave Tonelli scores at 29-28.
One judge scores it. One judge scores at 30-27 for me.
Yeah.
And the other two score it completely opposite.
When you let it go 3 rounds, you put it in the hands of the judges. I don't know what those hands were doing during that last 3-round fight, but Chael and David, you've been in this situation before. Try to help us explain how that fight went to a split decision and going the way of Devin Powell. David, why don't you try to jump on this one, because I have no explanation. I don't either. When the winning fighter does not believe he won the fight, there is no way for a judge to say he did. That is not to take anything away from Powell. Sometimes it goes your way.
In Powell's favor, he was a class act. His fans were a class act. They're good.
Let's hear from the presumptive winner. He is standing by with
They were good.
corner. Here is Devin Powell.
Where's he from? Maine?
He's from Maine, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit, you know, to hell with the score. You know, you're trying to win the fight.
Yeah.
So, you know, fighters don't pay attention to the score.
No.
You know, unless it's posted like in wrestling or football or something. You don't know. I mean, you're just fighting.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's a thing where, you know, humans bring human error. It's It's subjective. So.
Something has to be changed, it seems like to me.
Yeah, honestly, like he handled it pretty good
did.
too.
He was
like,
a
hey,
class
you know,
act. He was doing his job. We're chasing the same dream. He's a class act, even the way he answered his questions.
So I'm just gonna pause it. You know, in things like this, all it's doing is just laying the ground for you know, story.
Yeah.
So, you know, if one of you guys get, you know, a shot at the title, or get the title, hell, there's story for a rematch.
Yeah.
Is there any talk of a rematch or anything yet?
I haven't talked to. The only thing I talked to is Ray Seffel after the fight. He said that you won that fight. It's like, I feel for you. The judges are a different body than the World Series of Fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think the World Series of Fighting supports that decision, because you got robbed. And up to this point, there has been no talk about a rematch. If it ever happens, it's not happening at Foxwoods. I'm not fighting there again. That's the second time I didn't agree with the decision. I feel like a crybaby saying it, but this is what I put my life into, and
yeah. I mean, if you're gonna put, you know, a training camp, I mean, anyone who follows the sport, I mean, you know the sacrifice and dedication that goes into training for a fight. So if you go and you know you lose, you ought to be upset, and if you're not, there's something wrong. And if the building knows that you won and it goes to the other guy, hell, you know, you got every right to be upset.
If you watch my career, a few fights ago, I lost to Frankie Perez, and it was a good fight, but I was happy after. I was proud. I felt he won the fight, and some nights you lose. Some nights the guy's better than you. But I'm good with that. But I'm not good with doing everything I planned on doing and going out there and fighting my fight and doing the things that I worked on in camp and having success in doing them, and then them giving the other fighter a decision. It's like, it's not. It's a feeling of being violated or robbed. It's not a good feeling.
So, tell me a little bit about your division, lightweight division, World Series of Fighting. You know, UFC really gets a huge piece of the pie when it comes to, you know, mainstream attention. Does World Series have rankings?
They got, I would say, look on their website, they probably got 30 guys that fight for them regular, maybe twice a year, and in that division. And so with that, if you pull off a few wins in a row, 2 fights ago I fought a guy that, you know, fought for the title. You beat a guy like that, you beat another guy who's 6-1, and you're close to maybe a big fight. And I don't know the actual rankings, if they even have them, but
so, you know, with the UFC, you got the rankings there. You got what the top 10 or the top 15 guys.
Yeah.
You kind of have like a roadmap.
Yeah.
You know, and when things don't, I mean, we've seen guys coming off of losses get title fights before. You know, it's rare, but
yeah.
You know, like you're, you know, from the fights I've seen with Newell.
Yeah.
And this one, like you know, if you're in that conversation, I'm sure, you know, the things that get into putting a fight together, there's, you know, there's availability, there's health and everything else. So yeah, I'm just pulling up the division. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, so there's 19. I mean, there's, you know,
yeah,
you know, there's plenty of opportunity to, you know, get a good performance and an argument for, you know, for title contention.
Yeah, I think with beating Newell and then beating Powell, I would say I would be right there. In my opinion, if they called me up next and said, you know, set you up for the title, I wouldn't be shocked or surprised. But I think the way the cards played out, that because of the judges and me not finishing, it's partially my fault. I think the argument is weak.
So, you know, with that last fight with Newell and then he retiring, you know, just as a fan looking on, I feel like that kind of puts you in a weird spot, you know, because sometimes you can, you know, if it's a close fight, you can kind of ride their coattails. If they have a really good performance on the next one, it's like, oh, you know, I'm right there. You have something else to compare. But with him stepping away, you know, like, where do you feel that kind of leaves you, you know, in the pecking order? Something you think about, or just?
I did at one point, but after my last 2 fights and the way things went, I haven't put much thought in it, and it's like you gotta get a win to even make an argument. You know, I'm not coming off of losses. There's there's just not a strong argument to give me the fights I want to fight, and that my record's not where it should be. In my opinion, I should be 9-3 and coming off a 2-fight winning streak. But the Connecticut judges don't agree.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, but I mean, since I brought up Newell, there's something else I wanted to ask you. It's fine. I can edit this out. It's not live, you know.
Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to ask you about was, you know, that situation where, like, you know, he tapped.
Yeah.
And then kept going, like that Brazilian tap.
Yeah.
Has this, like, been brought up to him? And I'll tell you why I'm asking you. I'm at the fights. I'm in my seat, and I'm with my wife, and I'm like, oh, there's this guy, and she recognized Mark Delagrati from that movie, Here Comes the Boom. She's like, oh, there's that guy from the movie. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, that guy there, he's you know, that's Nick Newell. He fought for the title a while back, and actually Tom fought him. You know, was his last opponent. I'm like, he's the guy that, you know, he did that Brazilian tap. She's like, well, go ask him about it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm not gonna go up to a world title challenger and be like, oh, why'd you Brazilian tap? Yeah. So, I mean, is this something that's been brought up to him? Like, has he acknowledged that or denied it or anything?
I don't know if him ever denying it. I know it's been brought up to him, and I don't think much was said. I know teammates of his, I'm not gonna say no names, but they said he tapped. I know after the fight he apologized to his coaches about his performance, but he retired. Before the fight he was talking about going and getting the title and winning tournaments and fighting again in 2 weeks. After the fight he was crying backstage saying how he retired and his knees hurt, elbows hurt, and at 29 years of age it's too much for him. So I don't know. I don't see it. I honestly think he's going to fight again at some point. I think he's going to sneak back in, announce an opponent, and it's going to be the right fight. I think he was starting to see that there's real guys out here I'm going to have to get through, and he's going to announce a cupcake opponent, and it's going to be too late for them to match him with the guys he's supposed to be fighting, and it's too late to talk about rematches, and that's my opinion.
All right. So the other thing I wanted to ask you about, when I had you on the podcast the first time, or the second time rather, you mentioned the Foxwood Commission. Is it actually Foxwood Commission, or is it Connecticut State?
No, it's their own commission.
The resort casino?
Yeah, I want to say Nantucket something. They have their own commission. Their commission is different than Mohegan Sun's commission. They do some things similar, but they're two different commissions.
I'm just Googling it here. Freaking autocorrect takes Mashantucket to... It tore that one apart. Mashantucket MMA Commission. I'll just see what comes up here. Foxwoods Tribal Gaming Commission. Well, that's got to be different. That's gambling. Gaming Commission.
It might be under that, though.
Association. Oh, it might be under that?
Yeah.
Well, let me click on that. Yeah, it's listed there. Unarmed combat, boxing, mixed martial arts. All right. Well, yeah, I'll look into who does that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, the ultimate goal has got to be world championship, right?
Yeah, that's what it's always been, and it feels like every time you have a asshole judge that either don't know the sport or don't care or is biased, you're one step further away. I know people say, oh, you got to finish fights, but these guys are tough guys. These guys you're fighting, and, you know, I wish I could have finished every fight. I do have half my fights are won by submission. I wish I had more knockouts, but these other guys across the cage are doing the same thing as you. They're training the same way, and, you know, they're giving their life to us. So sometimes it's easier said than done to finish some of these guys because they prepare for 8 weeks, and they'd rather die then tap out, or it's a mutual feeling. But yeah, I mean, as far as Newell goes, I thought I did finish him. I thought he did tap. And as far as Powell goes, he's a tough guy. My hat's off to him. I'm gonna be rooting for him in the future. He's best we get a chance to fight again, but he's a class act, tough guy.
Yeah, that just before we kind of move on, when people say like, "Oh, you got to finish fights," in my circle of friends, I'd be like, "Why don't you go try and finish them?" It's not that freaking easy.
It's a silly comment. There are fighters that fight trying to get decisions, quote unquote, but not everyone is a knockout artist. Not everyone is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and sometimes you just grind out a fight. Sometimes you're just a grinder. You're fighting another tough guy, and you don't happen to in 15 minutes find a knockout or the submission, and that's what the judges are there for. And there has to be maybe a different system, or
yeah, every fighter is going to go through a bad decision. It's part of it. So, I was thinking of ways like to get around it. Just kind of shooting the shit and talking about it. You think more judges or less judges?
I think there's a few things they could do. I think I personally think if after the rounds it's announced like other sports, there's scoreboards.
Release the scores?
Yeah, so why not? Isn't it round 1 was given to so-and-so after the round? I know it make guys fight different. I know they told me that it was 1-1 going into the third. All I'd be thinking is I have to finish. But I don't. It's not. They don't do a good job with scoring the fights. They do a horrible job at bad decisions. Even on the biggest cards in the world, a bad decision is brushed under the rug and people don't care. 2 weeks later, no one's talking about it. So it's not much is done.
Yeah, and I think I've heard that before. Like, just post the scores, just post them. At least it's not going to hurt the sport. It's not going to hurt the sport at all. If anything, it's going to make, it's going to be clear. There's going to be clarity in the sport. People are going to really, and everyone in the arena is going to know that this guy is now fighting to win the fight.
Yeah.
It really can only help.
Yeah, I agree with that. There has to be some changes made to the sport. It's a young sport in comparison to other sports, and football, basketball. There's been changes over the years to make the sports better, and I think it's time they make some changes in MMA, in the scoring, in the way they score. Sometimes there's no straight way they score. They told me in the Newell fight I lost because I took him down twice. He took me down 3 times or something. So they said, oh, he was on top more and he got more takedowns or something. And it's like, okay. So my next fight, I come out and take the guy down 8 times, and he takes me down 0. And like, we're in the same place with some of the same judges. So it's like, okay, it's like, what now? It's kind of silly.
Yeah. It's just the way it's so subjective. It's tough, and sometimes it's tough for fans to understand it. I don't know. I'm still kind of fixated on just release the scores between rounds.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, all right, man. You got anything else you want to put out there? Any other points you want to make?
Come down to Marcellino's Pizza. Open Wednesday through Sunday. Try some really good pizza. That's where I'll be. Eating broccoli pizza until my next fight.
What's the address?
221 West Main Street, Amsterdam, New York.
And that's right off the New York State Thruway in Amsterdam.
Come check it out.
All right, man. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for listening and watching the video. To contact Tom, you can find him on Instagram at GunDanceKid518. Also on Facebook, Tommy Gunnz Marcellino. There'll be a link in the details for this video on YouTube. For more on me and my podcast, Podcast Combat Sports, go to PCS MMA on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, here on YouTube, and you can subscribe on SoundCloud and iTunes. I want to put in a final plug for the Plattsburgh Beach Wrestling Tournament that's happening Saturday, July 30th at the Plattsburgh City Beach. You can register online, planetreg.com/PCSBeach. Registration starts at $20, but you can save 10% on registration by entering the coupon code PODCAST, and that is for podcast listeners only. And it's shaping up to be an awesome event. So thanks to Tommy Gunnz, and thank you for watching. Ciao, Littatori.